Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our next guest is Nguyen from KW Philly. Minh, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here.
You are, like I said, the best dressed guest we've had on the show. We're at, I think, at 90 or 91. You give a little turn. Not only an incredible agent, fashion plate, and you got all the analytics down, all the numbers and everything. You're not just a pretty face, you actually are a super prepared, one of the most prepared realtors that I've talked to ever. So let's go a little bit with the numbers and get into that. You like to really educate your buyers. Do you tend to have buyers that are more investors, or is your crowd more the first-time home buyers and the step up?
Yes. So I work with all different types of clientele. Homeowners who are either their first-time home buyers, or maybe they're buying now in my 5th year in real estate. They're now buying their second homes, or they're upgrading, or they're downsizing. So I have buyers from all different types of demographics, and some of them are buyers. I have some sellers. I have a lot of listings as well, from sellers who are wanting to sell their primary residence to investors who are flipping houses, and I'll be listing their renovation projects.
Sure.
And then I also have investors, all different types of investors who are either looking to do acquisitions of multi-units, commercial mixed use. Maybe they're looking for flip projects. So I have all different types of clients, and I treat each client very differently in terms of like the preparation process, the strategy process. So I kind of curtail and curate my programming or educational process for each different type of client.
Sure.
And oh, by the way, thank you so much for inviting me to this show. It is an honor to meet you. We have been in communication for the last couple of weeks, so this has been really exciting. I look forward to this conversation today. So thanks again.
We're gonna have some fun.
Yes.
Now you have, you said you've been doing this for 5 years now.
Yes.
This is kind of, if you listen to the buzz or you listen to the media, this is a very interesting time in the market. What do you see the next 6 to 12 months, especially in your backyard in the Philly market? What do you see happening? What do you think how's the tide going to turn?
Yes, so I work in Philadelphia. I'm licensed in Pennsylvania. My real estate partner is licensed in Jersey. So I worked all over Philadelphia and greater Philadelphia area, including Montgomery County, Delaware County, all of those boroughs, local municipalities. So I feel like I know the greater Philadelphia area very well. And even southern New Jersey, I've done some things here. So I'm really looking to expand into Delaware and also New Jersey. But in the greater Philadelphia metropolitan area, I've done everything from vacant lots to new construction to residential sales, multi-units, commercial mixed use, industrial hubs, and even sheriff sales foreclosures. So I've done basically every type of transaction there is to do. The reason why I do that is because I want the experience. I want to diversify my experience. So I've been taking on different types of clientele that's looking for diversified portfolios or assets. So I've done almost everything. So what I see on the macroeconomic level is, number one, we are in a transitional phase. The Federal Reserve has indicated that they are doing 3 to 4 rate hikes since the beginning of this year.
Sure.
They've enacted about 3 of them already. The last one happened last week. Some mortgage lenders would say there's a direct correlation between the interest rates that are increased by Federal Reserves and the mortgage interest rates. And then some people say there's like a trickle-down indirect correlation.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens. But I know that interest rates actually on mortgages have decreased this past week. Now we're looking at like a 5.05, but some mortgage lenders are saying that's going to go up. Right, so I think in terms of interest rates, we're now looking in the 5s. Last year, we were in the 3s, in the 3.5s. But what we saw over the last 2 years since the quarantine was overbidding on assets where there were like 10 to 20 offers on the property. We saw overinflation valuation on assets where people were paying substantially over asking. So that's unsustainable. It creates a bubble effect, and those values cannot be sustained for a long period of time. And so now we're in the process of self-correction. The jobs report just came out. We have record jobs that's available. We have the Great Resignation. Employees across the country have been situating their work in the hybrid formats. They've been doing more work from home.
Sure.
They needed different types of environments or different house configuration in order to in order to work from home in a hybrid corporate setting. We see a lot of different jobs development in different sectors that we haven't seen before. Philadelphia is one of the best cities to invest in and one of the best cities to live. We are one of the most affordable cities. We have so much eds and meds infrastructure, life sciences, information technology, financial services. We are a intermediary hub that's able to absorb a lot of population and demographics increase from different sectors, and we're able to retain a lot of individuals that's coming from our amazing educational institutions and
Sure.
medical infrastructure. So I feel like, even with the inflation at 9.1%, these interest rate hikes are supposed to mitigate some of those inflationary pressures, which we're going to see in the next year and a half to 2 years. And hopefully by the end of that inflationary kind of mitigation, we'll be back in like a more kind of median interest rates, like in the fours would be nice. But people have amnesia because in 2018 interest rates were in the fives as well.
Right.
So we're always in this cyclical kind of transition period. So I love that you jumped right into some of the stats, and I can keep on going with some macroeconomics. So let me know if you want some more stuff. But I do think things that have affected overall the macroeconomics of this market is inflation, the jobs, employment, the Great Resignation. We've seen also supply chain infrastructure issues. Congress just passed a $1.3 trillion infrastructure bill. So projects across the country are getting earmarked, and Philadelphia is going to be investing in a lot of infrastructure development from this $1.3 trillion infrastructure bill and other kind of grants and funding that's been allocated for our infrastructure development in the city of Philadelphia and the greater Philadelphia region. The supply chain issues are getting resolved. So we've had issues getting materials for development and construction. The construction process has increased, but there's going to be a kind of equilibrium back towards more moderate construction costs. So I do think that we're in a correction/transitional phase in our real estate market and overall macroeconomic market.
One of the things that I've experienced, we have an office over in Fishtown. The buyers that we have come across, some of them are moving from New York, where they have a $3.5 million brownstone, and they realize that they don't need to live in New York anymore because of the quarantine and Zoom and everything. So now they're selling their $3.5 million brownstone, and they're buying something in Philly for $900,000, and they're taking that influx of cash, and now they're coming here, and we have the restaurants, we have the lifestyles, maybe not exactly as New York, but I've seen an influx of that. Have you experienced people coming into the city from outside of other areas?
Yes, and I love New York. That's a great point. I love New York City. I used to live in Hell's Kitchen, so I know New York's environments very well. Lots of cooperatives, lots of high-value international syndicated assets. The thing about, and during the quarantine, 40,000 New Yorkers left the city and they came to Philadelphia and other parts of the tri-state and northeastern region. Philadelphia absorbed about 40,000 New Yorkers. I'm not sure if some of them have returned or have came back to New York, but we have the capacity to absorb
Sure.
those. And I even have investors from New York who are looking to maximize their portfolio by buying in Philadelphia. So we in the city of Philadelphia have new construction duplexes for like 500 to 700K.
Yeah, you can't get a shoebox in New York.
You
for
can get
$500,000.
maybe a 600 square feet shell in South Harlem.
Right.
For like that amount. We have new construction triplexes for 700 to 900K in like emerging neighborhoods like
Sure.
Fishtown. And I love Fishtown, I love Brewery Town, South Philadelphia. What we have seen in these areas are not just residential development, new construction, we've also seen commercial mixed-use corridor revitalization. So the Fishtown Triangle have 3 commercial mixed-use corridors where there's lots of new businesses that are emerging, food establishments. We rival any other city in terms of our food culture. We have amazing cuisine, multinational, multicultural cuisine in the city of Philadelphia. You can find any type of food, so come down to Philadelphia to try some of our amazing cuisine. But there's opportunity to create commercial mixed-use corridors, and parallel to construction development is commercial mixed-use revitalization. We also see a lot of reindustrialization. Philadelphia back in the day used to have factories, warehouses, manufacturing hubs, industrial hubs that have generated our economic output in the early 1900s, and then after deindustrialization and outsourcing, those industrial hubs were vacant. Now what we've seen is these like international syndicated trusts, these international investors from all the way from Europe to Latin America to Germany to Asia buying factories, warehouses, like in the river wards, like these factories, and they're turning them into lofts, or turning them into biotech firms, things like that, along the Delaware River to the Schuylkill River. So we have major industrial hubs that are being retrofitted to be able to have multiple use, or commercial mixed use, or industrial use, and residential multi-units as well. So the cap rates, the capitalization rates, the gross rent multipliers, the cash and cash return, we have it in Philadelphia. You can be successful and profitable. We also have a 10-year tax abatement. So if you have new construction, you don't pay taxes on the building for 10 years. So we're talking about a new construction, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathroom house with a rooftop, finished basement, and you can buy it for $500-600K, and their taxes are $1,000 a year. City Council just passed a new ordinance where now it's like a tier structure that's like 100%, 90, 80, 70%. So it comes out to like a 5.5 year tax abatement, but that's still incredible. Like we're in Voorhees, New Jersey, and the taxes here are. Actually, I know that Governor Phil Murphy has been stating that they're going to do reassessments and offer rebates and different types of tax and policy reconfiguration. But Philadelphia's taxes are like, we have some amazing tax incentives, and we have developers from all around the world, including, for example, Singapore is trying to build a $950 million industrial park in University City. Guess who has the largest real estate investment trust in the city?
Who?
University of Pennsylvania. Our eds and neds, right? They have in University City about 40 major development projects that's worth about $100 billion worth of real estate stock. We have the stadium centers. Comcast is building a $50 million stadium. You may have heard that the Sixers is trying to push through and propose a $2.3 billion infrastructure, like a stadium in Market East, which is going to get some pushback. It's going to be it's going to be a controversial thing, but we have that type of investment in our city. We have FDR Park that in South Philadelphia that's undergoing like a $30 million restoration project. We have new highways along the Delaware River. We have the pier extensions on the Delaware River that is being invested in. They're doing like everything from dredging in the Navy Yard to a pier extension industrial development, and they're doing all of these ecological studies. Like, we're talking about major infrastructure projects that is going to help improve the sustainable kind of configuration of this city. So Philadelphia is on its way towards amazing progression in the future.
What about the safety issues that have been prevalent in the news? I'm not over in Philly as much. You live there.
Yes.
Is it really? I mean, they make it out like at some points in times it's the wild, wild west, and you know, criminals are driving down the street on ATVs and whatever. Have you experienced anything like that, or do you know what a plan would be to kind of get that under control?
Yeah, so homicide rates in the city of Philadelphia has been pretty stable over the last couple of years. Since the quarantine, we've saw major metropolitans around the cities around the country experience a hike in crime.
Sure.
And people who are not living in Philadelphia see those headlines and get very scared. They don't want to visit Philadelphia. They don't want to invest in Philadelphia. We have to look at some of the underlying root causes of some of this violence, right? One is accessibility to drugs and guns. 2 is poverty. 3 is lack of educational attainment. So if we are able to mitigate all of the underlying socioeconomic, sociocultural issues, and really work towards coming up with a comprehensive solution, I think that's going to not only reduce crime rate in the city of Philadelphia, but overall increase the quality of life for all of our citizens. Right, we're a city of 1.2 million people, so like when you look at some of those numbers, like they sound like a lot, but in terms of like just the population percentage to crime, like it's. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not okay. We need to work towards greater peace in our society, and we only do that through, like, this is gonna sound really corny, but like through love and like just like working with young people, investing in young people, investing in educational institutions, things like that. Like we in the city of Philadelphia just hired a new superintendent, and so they're going through a process of reformation in the school district of Philadelphia, and if we're able to solidify our educational institutions in the city of Philadelphia, I think we're going to have greater outputs when it comes to these kind of markers such as crime rates and things like that.
That was going to be my next question, because the one thing when I talk to anyone who is moving to Philly or has lived in Philly, they always talk about private school.
Yeah.
So I would think like the one huge hurdle that I see in Philly is the public school system. If they could figure out a way to fix, correct, whatever word you want to use, improve, I mean, that's really where it all starts. If you have division and hatred and lack of hope in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade classes, of course that's going to grow into the culture and the townships. If everyone kind of accepts the fact that you have to send your kids to private school if you're going to have smart students, you're kind of admitting defeat right from the beginning. So I'm interested to see what they do with the public school system, because I think if they can figure that out, kind of sky's the limit.
Yeah, what is education if not the institutionalization of love for our children? And Philadelphia is unique because the way that public school funding is allocated is mandated and controlled by the state. So Philadelphia does not have sovereignty in terms of how we allocate funding towards public schools, and the formulas they use are allocated in a way based on the catchment areas and zip codes that generates different variations of outcomes in our young people. So if you live in a nice area, those public schools are going to be great. If you live in an impoverished area that's not generating that kind of school tax, then your schools are going to be under-resourced. So it's not an equitable funding formula. So people say Philadelphia is a tale of two cities, because we have some amazing public schools that's not really spoken about because our outcomes on the median is so low because of the high levels of poverty and under-resourced in some of our public schools in lower income zip codes. Philadelphia has a poverty rate of about 25%. So if you take a look at where the schools are located and their resources allocation, they're going to higher tax areas.
Sure.
So you know the burbs are different because the school districts in the suburban areas and in New Jersey get to control their funding. Philadelphia, you pay your property taxes to the city of Philadelphia and to the general fund, and then they allocate to the school district of Philadelphia. In the suburbs and in New Jersey, the school districts actually have their own fiscal year and their own taxes, and you pay a higher rate of taxes, and then that gets distributed in a more equitable formula. But those local municipalities have more local governance over those school districts' funding and how they're allocated. So we're getting into very technical things on here.
For sure.
I also dance as well if you want to see some dance. You know, I mean, this is a very serious conversation. Are you running for office?
No. I do want to talk to you about some personal stuff.
Okay.
Because I was super jealous watching your pictures over in Greece.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Because I don't know if I told you or not, I was supposed to go to Greece with my wife for my 50th birthday, which just happened.
Oh, congratulations.
We wound up, thank you.
Yeah.
We wound up postponing it, not cancel it.
You don't look a day over 45.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
So, what was like the most impressive part about being over there? You had so many videos and pictures and stuff. What was your favorite part of that part of the world?
Yeah, so I went to Athens, Mykonos, which is the party island of Greece, and Santorini. So I did everything. It was for my birthday. It was a trip of like 16 people. And Greece is like such a beautiful country. We went to the Acropolis. We went to like beautiful beaches where the water is crystal blue. We went to amazing resorts and islands. We went ATV, jet skiing, scuba diving, snorkeling. So I really had a wholesome experience over there, and the clubs, the parties are amazing. Mykonos especially, this is where like the elites of the Mediterranean and Europe come to party. Sure. So I say that I'm a 12 out of 10 in Philadelphia, but I'm like a 9 out of 10 in Mykonos. You know, but someone called me exotic fruit over there, and they're like, "You're so beautiful, you're such exotic fruit," which is like a whole different conversation. I'm just like, But you know, I feel like I went to a lot of archaeological museums as well. I love going to museums and learning. And I just feel like I learned so much about the history of Greece and Greek mythology and some amazing just cultural things that just really has opened my mind and perspective. I studied international business law and dance at Temple University and Tokyo University, so I feel like I'm more culturally aware because of just the interactions I've had during my educational experience, learning in one of the best IB programs in the country. So I've met a lot of people from all around the world, and also at Keller Williams, we are the #1 agency. We have over 500 agents. So sure. I have friends that are Greek that work in my office, and so I just feel like the more you travel, the more you learn about different cultures, the more
sure.
you learn about yourself. And you know, like I can get into like the Greek bailout and stuff, but their economy, you know, is they're under like German kind of like really their bailout package wasn't that great. You know what I mean? And also they're a bunch of islands, so like imagine having to do tax enforcement in their islands when there's like small businesses that's based on the economy of hospitality and tourism.
Sure.
And so I just think that the political infrastructure, and I learned a lot because I talked to everybody like, what do you think about your government here? So I learned a lot about Greece. So you know, it's always good to just study some of the political and geopolitical infrastructure of all of these different countries. But it was great. I got a great tan. I look good. And I went after my appendix had burst in May, so I was supposed to have a 6-pack, and I was like training and playing tennis and eating right, no sugar, no carbs, and so I was supposed to look snatched, but I literally had all of May recovering from an appendix burst, so I went to Greece without my 6-pack. But I still look good.
But you still were a 12 in Philly and a 9 in Greece, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
seriously, once I get my 6-pack, I'll be like a 9.5.
9.5 in Greece.
Yeah.
Alright.
Literally, the people there are beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying Americans are ugly. I mean, there's some hot Americans too, but on average, Mykonos probably has like the best.
A little better.
Yeah, some hotter people there. Sorry.
Awesome.
I love you guys.
Min, thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming in. I can make a prediction that you will be the first return guest on Mr. Mortgage because we're going to have to do a second round.
I have some more stats for
Go
you.
for it. Hit the stats real quick.
Okay.
Come on.
All right. Awesome. So a few more things about Philadelphia. So job growth in Philadelphia, 1.17% year over year. We have increase of 5.35% median household income. In the Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington MSA area, we've have $439 billion GDP output. We have about 27% growth in major economic industries. We have ads and meds infrastructure. We have some major development projects, which I have already indicated.
Sure.
And also over the last 5 years, the home values have increased 11% over the last year. Over the last 5 years, home values have increased an astounding 63%. We have higher capacity for appreciation in the city of Philadelphia.
63%, is that what you said?
5 years, yes. I'm
Wow.
talking about specific, when you have major infrastructure projects and new construction in blighted areas where that's a huge increase, right?
Sure.
That's a huge increase. With median listing price in Philadelphia is $226,000, super affordable.
Yeah.
Days on market as of the first quarter of 2022, 62 days in the market. We're still under 3 months absorption, so that's still a seller's market, even though there's some corrections right now. Sale to price ratios are at 90%. And out of the 52 neighborhoods, Graduate Hospital, which is where my office is located, Keller Williams, we have the most expensive median price homes, which is about $625,000. And Keller Williams, last year we did $1.853 billion in total volume production.
From your office alone?
From my office alone, we have 4 offices, one in Graduate Hospital, one in Center City, Schuylkill River Trail, one in Ardmore, we just opened up last year in the main line, and we also have a South Jersey division. And so 400 plus agents. This year already, we've already passed, as of June, the end of June, over $1.1 billion. So this year, our goal is to hit $2 billion in total volume production. We're the first $1 billion ever real estate company. So that's a lot of transfer tax in the city of Philadelphia. Transfer tax in the city of Philadelphia is very high. It's 4.28%. In the burbs, it's 2%. In Jersey, you have no transfer tax. 0%.
Seller pays a small amount. But
Seller pays a small amount. So what we compensate in lower taxes, even though city of Philadelphia taxes have increased 31% on average during our April reassessment. However, the taxes are still under
super low.
Still super low. And so I feel like the future for Philadelphia is bright. And we have a new mayoral election happening next year. So I'm excited to see who's going to be running.
It won't be the same guy.
It won't be, because he's in the second term already.
He wouldn't get reelected, I don't think, anyway.
Well, Mayor Jim Kenney has done an incredible job, so thank you, Mayor Jim Kenney. He was a beloved city councilor at large. But once you become a mayor, now you become
a target.
Is a target, right? So city council at large, he had a pretty nice position where he was beloved, and then once you become a mayor, things change. But but overall, I think he's done an incredible job. It's hard being a political leader, right? I wouldn't want to run for any politics office. Why run for office? Why become a politician when you can own politicians? I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying the leaders in our city have done a great job, and obviously there's a lot of work to do, and we don't hide from that. But there are some very positive elements of the city of Philadelphia. So I hope that you will come visit and not be scared.
No, I'm not scared.
Okay.
I just see Frank Genzano. Was on our show not too long ago.
Okay.
And he was talking about some things, and it's like you just don't know when you watch the news. Like, I don't really watch the news that much, but I'll see something go across on Facebook, and I'll be like, "Hey, this guy, some person was robbed," and then you're Asian. There was a whole lot of buzz going around about race-hating crimes, and a lot of horrible things were said during the COVID and all that stuff. So you just never know.
Yeah, stop Asian hate. Since COVID, because it originated from China and because there is so much fervor, there's a lot of dramatists in our society who uses these types of societal issues to really target a community.
Mhm.
So we've seen a lot of violence against Asian American communities because of COVID, and because there's always been violence against Asian Americans, but it's been underreported in our community. But
Sure.
I think this increase in violence and crimes against Asian Americans have been highlighted by COVID and has brought out a need for us to look at how do we protect ourselves and one another, because violence against a specific race or ethnicity or religion is a hate crime,
Sure.
right? It's not just a target against that person, but against an entire community. So we have to take these issues very seriously, and race and culture and all of these geopolitical stuff is, you know, real estate is a very political industry.
Sure.
Right? We have a lot of political infrastructure, and we have a lot of influence in our politics as real estate agents and even mortgage lenders. You know,
Mhm.
like, you know, we should be we're like lobbyists. We're great lobbyists with GPAR and NAR and all of the different associations that we belong with, and they work on a lot of political policy towards
Sure.
helping improve the real estate industry. And last thing I would say is housing is a human right. Everyone deserves housing. It's a basic necessity.
Sure.
And we need to think about holistic and smart development that benefits all levels and strata of our society, so that we can make this world a better place and that everyone has a roof over their head, which is like...
Sounds
you know,
simple, right? You would think that I can't imagine someone would argue against that.
But where there's a will, there's a way, and I always say that housing policy is very complex. And you know, I think a lot of real estate agents are more like, you know, are like if we were to talk about holistic development, holistic housing policies, I think we are agents of change, right? We can become agents of change. You know, like we have the capabilities to change this world for the better as real estate agents and mortgage lenders.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
This
much.
was so much fun.
You are definitely going to come back.
Yay! Thanks.
We'll be right back with the next guest on Mr. Mortgage. Do a little dance, man.